Welcome to Caregiver Relief, where we support family caregivers with the knowledge, tools, and encouragement you need to navigate caregiving without losing yourself in the process. I'm your host, Diane Carbo, RN, and founder of Caregiver Relief. And today we're talking about something that so many caregivers experience, but few truly understand. If you've been feeling exhausted, gaining weight, struggling with sleep, brain fog, or just not feeling like yourself, this is not just part of getting older or just stress. There is a deeper physiological reason behind what's happening in your body. And today we are joined by Dr. Marianne Pinkston Mueller, an integrative medicine physician with over 25 years of experience helping patients heal from the inside out. Her experience is not only clinical, it's personal. After facing serious health challenges, including autoimmune disease, diabetes, and significant weight gain, she transformed her own health, losing 180 pounds and reclaiming her life. Lord have mercy. We're going to really talk about that, Marianne.
Thank you.
Today, we're going to explore how caregiver stress impacts your hormones, your metabolism, and your overall health. And more importantly, what you can do to begin reversing that process. This is a conversation every caregiver needs to hear. This episode is sponsored by myvitalvault.net, your all-in-one life organizer for aging adults and caregivers. It's designed to help you securely store your essential legal, medical, and emergency information in one easy-to-access place. Because when a crisis hits, being prepared can make all the difference. Join our Caregiver Relief community, a warm, welcoming space where you can connect with other caregivers, ask questions, share stories, and find support from people who truly understand. Visit community.caregiverrelief.com to join now, because caregiving is one of the hardest and most meaningful things you'll ever do, and no one should have to do it alone. And if this episode speaks to you, please take a moment to like, share, or comment. Every click helps us reach more caregivers who need encouragement, resources, and hope. Dr. Pinkston, Marianne, I'm so excited to have you here today because as we were talking before I started recording, our healthcare system is so broken in so many ways. And we get 15-minute visit to the doctor. And now Dr. Oz and Mr. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy Jr., are encouraging medical schools and universities to include at least 40 hours of nutrition. And I'm like, oh my God, that's all?
Yeah. And my response was only 40, right?
I know, yes. So I want to welcome you and thank you for sharing your knowledge with us today. Now, your personal health journey is incredibly powerful. Can you
Yeah.
share what led you to transform your own health and how that shaped your work today?
Oh, sure. Oh my gosh. Thank you. First of all, what an honor. I really appreciate you so much having me on. And I love sharing this story because it is, I think what it ends up being is just a reclamation for people to say that you can take control of your life. It is possible. It really is. If I can do it, anybody can. And so, yes, I think with all of the stressors with life, but also reaching certain ages where, your hormones are disappearing, the stress takes over, your sleep is terrible, you're taking care of especially as a woman, you're taking care of everybody else except for yourself and patients and all. I gained up to 300 pounds. And I think what got me not only just wanting to look better, feel better, regain my confidence back and get my health back, because yes, I developed rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, hypertension. I also had melanoma, developed cancer out of it. So many things were going on. So of course I wanted my health back, But I think looking in my children's eyes, and then also at the time I owned a med spa, opened up one of the first med spas in San Antonio, Texas. And I was sitting in front of people trying to explain to them how to get their health back and lose weight and all. And I'm 300 pounds. It just doesn't
Correlate. It
yeah,
doesn't connect.
I just lost that connection. So I know people are looking at me like, really? And so I just knew it was something that I had to make myself an example for my children and for my patients, and then just do something for myself. That was really important to me. So I did. And it took several years and definitely a lot of consistency and persistence, a lot of
Well,
change.
that's how you keep it off, is
Yeah, that is.
developing a lifestyle. I've
It is.
struggled with my weight my whole entire life. I was a caregiver very young, and my way of handling stress was to grab anything to eat on the run.
Thank you.
And it could be anything. And it was always sweet or salty. And it was high calorie and low
For sure.
nutritional value.
Mhm.
And that was very hard for me to break that cycle
Yes.
as
Yeah.
well. And
And
I
that's real.
understand.
That is so real.
Oh,
Eating
yes.
out of stress and developing what you do is you get into an insane amount of hormonal imbalances, but neurotransmitter imbalances and gut health and all of those things fall into place and it sets you up for this. And you just lay the stress on like icing on the cake and it really develops those cravings and
Yeah.
that and I consider it an eating disorder. And I don't care what kind of a caregiver you are anywhere, as long as you are taking care of others instead of yourself, that tends to be our basic personality anyway. Most of us did that, took care of our parents when we were younger, or took care of other children while the parents were at work or whatnot, all the way to taking care of your parents when they're elderly, plus taking care of your children. Then on top of that, being a healthcare provider. Right. And so all of those things set you up, I think, for giving more than what you've got to actually give. And that does, it sets you up. So
When you were explaining that here you were 300 pounds and
Mhm.
you're telling people at your med spa what they need to do to be healthy and well, I laugh because I can't tell you how many doctors, they don't address, they just tell you to lose weight, do this, do that, or exercise, don't smoke. But they're telling you that as they're shoving food down their throat or they reek of cigarette smoke
Right. Right.
on their lab jacket. Yeah,
Right.
so and that's the typical experience I've had in my 54 years of
Right.
nursing,
Right.
do as I do as I say, not as I do.
Absolutely. You are
And
correct.
we really have to address that. And can you talk specifically about caregiver burnout and how it affects hormones like cortisol, insulin, and thyroid function?
Absolutely. This is the heart of my own journey. And now I have turned that journey over to look at my patients and everybody as the basis of what I think is wrong. And you have two parts of your neurological system, right? You've got the sympathetic neurological side, you've got the parasympathetic neurological side. The sympathetic is running from the bear. It's, the part that gets you up and gets you going and running and always on edge. And that's where a lot of the anxiety drive comes from. It drives up your cortisol and all of your adrenaline, and it's necessary. It's what we need to keep us going. We're supposed to have that downtime, though, of our parasympathetic nervous system side, where that's the rest, digest, and restore, right? It helps you to heal all of those cells that are kind of dying and rewired to not function correctly. It's where things like cancers come from and whatnot. But that is also the side that helps us make our hormones at night. That's when we make most of our hormones, is at night. And we're supposed to have that rest and relaxation to compensate. It's a recovery period. And so we're supposed to have that. What happens, I think, is we've got the imbalance, and it comes from very young, especially people who are in the healthcare field. We're type A driven, right?
Yes.
We're working all the time and we're always trying to be perfect and do the right thing. And we're very, very driven people. And so that sympathetic dominant side is on all the time, and cortisol spikes all the time. We never get a chance to recover and allow that system to heal itself. And so it deranges everything. Like I said, our hormones are made at night. And if we're a cortisol, adrenaline surge 24/7, especially night shift workers, So people, a lot of nursing, a lot of the medical field is healthcare working at night, healthcare workers at night. And so we really derange that cortisol system, that adrenaline system. So it causes that imbalance. We don't make our hormones at night. The cortisol, at high cortisol, is very intrusive to our thyroid production. We've got the typical thing that doctors check is TSH and T4. What we don't understand and realize, and what we are not taught in medical school, is that T4 really doesn't have a whole lot of function. It has to be converted into free T3, right? And that is where the action of thyroid occurs. But when we're overwrought with our cortisol system, it interferes with that conversion. So we can have a normal TSH and T4, but our cortisol is high and we don't convert to T3. So you can have plenty of hypothyroid symptoms and have a normal thyroid panel that doctors check, and it's all because your cortisol is overwrought. So it is just a domino effect from there, a cascade.
You know, what's sad is that I know that what you're saying, I learned that, but doctors that are actually taking care of us
Yes,
don't have that knowledge,
correct.
and that makes my head explode. That's
It's
why, functional medicine docs and integrative medicine docs are absolutely necessary because you look at the holistic approach and you deep dive into what's causing this, whereas all Western medicine does is treat the symptoms, but it
correct.
doesn't go to the root cause of anything.
Correct.
And yeah,
There
I
you
thank you, but that's 54 years of nursing that has seen how we have absolutely let our patients
yeah.
down.
Yes, of course.
And thank goodness they may get 40 hours of nutritional training.
At least, oh my
Oh
gosh.
my
Well,
God, God
yeah,
bless us. I guess
yeah.
that's
And I would love to speak to that because this is kind of how I've done this now for almost 30 years, and I can look backwards now and understand it. The pharmaceutical and the insurance industry have definitely lent their hand to this. But I think doctors ultimately, it's like being the president of the United States, where you can blame all the people that are down below you and the people that come into the office and have something to
Yep,
say and do. But ultimately, you're the boss, right?
yeah,
And I see that in medicine as being a doctor, that in medical school, we learn the basic
yeah,
science. It's not there to necessarily make us fantastic physicians that can cure everything. We can't learn everything there is to know,
yeah,
but it gives us the basics. And I think what we forget as physicians is that it is our responsibility to not just graduate medical school, put our shingle on the door, and then just say, okay, I'm ready to treat patients. No, we are responsible for learning more and going farther and getting that education and developing it
yeah,
further. And that integrative doctors are people who are forward thinking like that. Most of the
yeah,
time, the light bulb comes on when we get sick or somebody in our family gets sick, and we have a story. There's always a story behind somebody who practices functional medicine.
yeah,
But beyond that, I think we all should search it out. We are not done when we leave medical school. We have a responsibility to patients and to the system to continue learning and to open it further and go deeper. That is our responsibility. And a lot of physicians just don't take that responsibility.
Dr. Marianne, what I have seen and experienced with doctors is our government policymakers are in charge of our healthcare, not our doctors. I just had a conversation with a surgeon, and he wanted to do back surgery, and it took a year to get that back surgery approved for this patient because his approach, which is a much safer approach, this was to go in through the stomach and work. It's called an anterior, I think, approach versus going in through the back. And
Yes.
the insurance company said, no way, no, no, no. But here is this doctor knew this was he's going to get a better result.
Yes. Right.
And one of the things I've learned about people with back surgery, they have repeated surgeries over and over and over again because they
Absolutely.
expect to have relief from pain, and it may relieve it a little bit, but it doesn't totally go away. So they keep going back for more and more surgeries. Yeah, but I think that right now what we're dealing with is physicians that, well, first of all, doctors are making less than they were 20 years ago.
Much less.
Much less, yes, and they have more government hoops. I think that our doctors, the young doctors,
Mhm.
just don't have it in them to go on. Maybe I'm making a blanket statement there, but I see the lack of moving forward and learning more because the government's in the way, the insurance companies are in the way saying what you can and cannot prescribe and what you can treat. That's
Absolutely.
why I think functional medicine is the last frontier of good holistic approach to medicine, and
Agree.
I encourage everybody, if you sick that or have a chronic illness, you really need to see a functional med doc. It's to your benefit because they're going to look at the root cause. Now, so many caregivers develop conditions like autoimmune disease, diabetes, or chronic inflammation. Can you explain why that happens?
Again, I really think we are a whole different breed of people. I can really only explain myself, but I think I am an example of many others. And, I had a difficult, very traumatic childhood, and that I'm already empathic to begin with. I have a sense about people and I absorb other people's energies. And I think and this best explains it. So when I'm in a room with a patient, and let's say I'm seeing 20 patients today,
Yeah.
with a patient, I essentially put myself into their world, their body, their brain, their mind, whatever, however you want to look at it. And I absorb try to feel what they're feeling, and as a direction to give me a sense and a place where I can actually get to where they are and help them. And
Mhm.
after doing that 20 times a day, I go home and I take my work with me because I can wake up in the middle of the night and sit straight up in bed and go, "Oh my God, I forgot to call in that prescription," or
Oh, yes.
I should have done this." And so I'm on 24/7. And
Yeah.
so I really think that I take a lot of that inside and take it with me. And I really do care about people. And I don't think people go into the healthcare field to just work. I think we all take that in with us and we do it for those reasons. But what happens is that we get so beat up by the system and other
Yeah.
people. And we just extend ourselves a very long distance into other people and into a system that doesn't really accept that and give back. And so there's not a lot of places that I can go and say, "I'm a doctor and I'm tired and I'm doing too much. I need help," right?
Yep.
There's nobody there for me. No, I'm at the top of the food chain. I'm the doctor. So
Yep.
yeah, so it really is, I think, built on a lot of things. I think it's built on just an inner personality at the core. It's wonderful to be, an empath and have experienced things I experienced in my past. It's made me a better doctor or whatnot, but at the same time, it set me up to work a little harder, probably, and send myself farther into my work than I should and overextend myself and all. But I think we're all set up in the same fashion. I don't know if you agree, but that's how I see it.
I do. I absolutely agree. And I too am an empath, and my heart goes out to anybody that because it's draining. It's
It is.
really draining because we do put ourselves in the place of that person and feel their pain a lot, and it's really hard. I will tell you that when managed care hit, nursing changed dramatically. I went to school in the dark ages, and so in the 70s where nursing was really good, but
Yeah.
there was abuse by the hospitals and stuff. I get that, putting patients in 2 and 3 days before surgeries and stuff. But the 80s when managed care hit, things changed in the hospitals dramatically, and
Abs
I used to get physically ill the day before I had to go in for a shift, and I
Wow.
could feel it, and it was like, "What is wrong?" And then it would take me 2 or 3 days to decompress and go through that cycle all over again, and that's when I started looking at alternative nursing because I had to get out of the hospital. It was just not a good place for me, and
Right.
nurses nowadays are getting beaten up by the patients,
Again,
and they're getting beaten up by the management because everything the nurse does must be if a patient responds badly, it has to be the nurse's fault. So nurses are struggling. But because family caregivers are under a tremendous amount of stress, You talk about the body begins to break down. So, what are early warning signs caregivers should not ignore?
Oh, great question. So I noticed things. This is a bit of a, it should be viewed as a bit of a process. Like you say, the early warning signs. And so early in your career, if you begin to notice that you're having, first of all, this is arbitrary and all over the place. I apologize, but
Yeah.
this is what I think of first. I think that the first thing that began to happen was I began to, my sleeping pattern. So I began to notice that when I would go to bed, I was exhausted, dead tired, fall on my face. I could fall asleep in 2 seconds, but the second my head hit the pillow, my brain started going.
Yep.
So I was wired
Yep.
but tired, right? So I
Yep.
would think and think, and I couldn't fall to sleep. Either that, or I would go to sleep, but then I'd wake up at about 3 a.m. or so and wake up a lot, and I couldn't get back down to sleep, and my brain would start going early. And then I started needing caffeine during the day. So then I was fatigued during the day, and it was starting to catch up. Things like brain fog, I mean, things that people might not really think of as being part of a deterioration like that, but the fatigue, lack of sleep, and the brain fog, and all of those things. It's a progression, but I think I those were the things that I noticed. The other thing I noticed too was I just felt more irritable. I was
Oh, yeah.
snapping. Yeah, I was snapping at people a lot more, snapping at the kids more, and I just wasn't able to sustain joy. Let's just say it.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
joy was diminishing as the irritation, and then flexibility was increasing. And so I just, those were the things that I began. Then came the weight gain and all of that on top of it. Right. So yeah, I think those.
I have been through that cycle myself several times before I decided I had to address it and get it right. Now, let's talk about the lack of sleep and the constant responsibility impact on the metabolism and how it and the weight gain.
I guess great. And so, like I say, as that neurological system begins to get unbalanced, our body has, I'll say it this way, the body has everything that it needs outside of the right type of nutrition, right? And so as long as we're getting the right nutrition, our body has everything it needs to perform well and do its job, but we start to ignore. We start to ignore those signals and patterns. We start to ignore the fact that we do need sleep. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to eat right. I don't have time to get 7 hours of sleep, whatever. We start to ignore those patterns and we get into, or those needs, and we get into a pattern where our body then just isn't fed correctly or receiving what it needs underneath. So, from a cellular level, that cortisol and neurological derangement or whatnot, every cell in our body has, of course, the nucleus with all the DNA in it. But I think the most important little organelle that belongs in the cell is the mitochondria. So the mitochondria, we all learned it in biology. This is the
Yep.
powerhouse of the cell. I mean, everybody's heard that since they were little bitty and in high school biology. But it is. And whenever the mitochondria doesn't have the vitamins, supplement, minerals, and whatnot that it needs to function, the cortisol's too high and the demand is off. And from there, our cells begin to just work on trying to catch up. It's all a catch up game. And if we're not giving it what it needs over a long period of time, then it produces a lot of inflammation. And so that inflammatory response is at the basis of every single disease or problem you can think of. And that's the reason why our immune systems don't function well. We become autoimmune. It's the reason why we aren't able to, again, make our hormones and whatnot at night. It's the reason why we develop cardiovascular disease or dementia or even osteoporosis and all those things. Inflammation's at the heart of that. And you just have to just take these big problems that nobody seems to know what to do with and just go backwards to the very, very basic biology and biochemistry and just understand that your body's not getting what it needs in any shape, form, or fashion, and work from the small level there up. And I think that's the main issue.
From an integrative medicine perspective, how is your approach different from traditional medicine when treating these
Mm.
issues? I know this answer very well.
You
Like,
know
I'm
the
going to
answer.
prepare this.
You know the answer. And let me say again, in contemporary medicine, we're given basic biology. So in functional medicine, we take this knowledge and apply it differently and learn how to go into a deeper place. Again, more than just placating symptoms and giving a pill to kind of adjust something. Again, it's a root cause. Functional medicine is very root cause in its basis. And again, you just have to understand how important things like magnesium is to the body, how important sleep regulation and controlling inflammation. And I think one of the things that is not focused on hard enough is gut health. So, leaky gut and the microbiome and its dysbiosis and all those things. The other thing that we focus on more in functional medicine is where did the cell go wrong? And there's always some sort of toxic effect underneath. And stress is one of those toxins, but so are heavy metals. The mold and Lyme disease, all the viruses we're exposed to. Now, with all the environmental exposures, the microplastics, and all of those things, we have to focus on the dangers that are out there affecting our bodies from that basic biological system. And that's something contemporary medicine leaves out. They don't look for heavy metals, they don't look for mold and Lyme, don't even believe in it, honestly.
Exactly. I know that for a fact. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there is a differentiation. And the way I explain integrative medicine to everyone is that there's contemporary traditional medicine, and we've got to treat symptoms. We've got to focus. Sometimes prescription medications are absolutely appropriate and they have a place. Then there's the natural medicine world, and it definitely has its place, but both sides can go off in tangents and ignore the importance of the other side, right? So you take
Yep.
the best of both of those worlds and integrate it, and you've got integrative medicine. You just use
There
the
you
best
go.
of both worlds. So that's
Yes.
kind of how I view it.
Yes. Now, many caregivers don't have time for complex routines. What are some simple, realistic first steps they can take to begin improving their health?
That's a good one. You've got some great questions. So
Thank you.
I think that, there's so many different ways you can come at it. And I think the first thing that I learned is actually I do have time. I have to make time.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, like in the airplane, and this is such a great metaphor, but it's when you are the mask drop, right? There's no oxygen. You've got to put your mask on first before you put somebody else's on. And it's said on and often, but it's so true. I cannot be a good doctor to my patients if I don't take care of myself. I cannot be a good mother to my children if I don't take care of myself first of all. And so it is important to just focus on the fact that you do have to make time to take care of yourself, and it's worth it. I think the main thing that I learned to do was to say no and develop boundaries. That's not easy for me. I was not raised to have boundaries. And I think I just began, that was part of my journey of taking care of myself. And I was just able to very nicely and easily say no more often that I can't because I'm going to go work out. And that's just the way it's going to be. And so
Exactly.
once I finally did that, I think that is ultimately the thing that people need to get through their head. The other thing too that I think was really important was just being consistent about it then.
Yeah.
We always adopt a change in our life. It's like, I'm going to start that new diet tomorrow. I'm going to start this supplement. I'm
Yep.
going to do this and this and this. And I'm joining the gym and I'm going to start getting up and getting exercise and whatnot. And what? About 2 or 3 months later, we drop it and move on
Yep.
and go back to our old patterns.
Yep.
And I think after I finally understood that this is going to be the rest of my life, these changes that I make now, I have to be able to live with it, but I have to live this the rest of my life. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to fall backwards. I'm going to fall off the wagon, however you want to say it. But ultimately, it's my responsibility to recognize it, take accountability for it, and jump right back on and just keep going. When I finally got that through my head, then that is where a lot of things change. So it really isn't about what diet is popular right now, what supplement is popular, what medication. We got GLPs, we got all these things. There's so many answers coming at us all the time, and none of them are really answers. It's really more about what you can do to look at yourself in the mirror and just say, it's time for me to take care of me. And therefore, when I'm in better shape, everybody else will be much better for it and go from there. So that's my best advice.
One of the things, Marianne, that most of my caregivers have an issue with is setting boundaries, setting
Yes.
limits. And one of the and asking for help. So everything
Oh,
you're
wow.
telling them is things that they need to hear. And what I encourage is every family caregiver should create a family caregiver contract. And they should take this and look at this
Wow.
position of providing care to their loved one as a job. I know that insults people, but
No, you're
you
right.
you have got to say what you will and will not do. You have to have days off. So the uninvolved and judgmental extended family members and siblings need to be involved. And if they will not give you time off on a regular time off twice a week or give you cover for vacation time, then they
Right.
should be financially responsible for contributing to give you that time off. And I think that's really important. And one of the other things is family caregivers, because they can't set boundaries, they think they're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that 63% of family caregivers right now are becoming seriously ill or dying before the person they're caring for, and they're unable to care for their loved one. So that's really important. And I recommend one other thing to the family caregiver is to create a caregiver relief support group around you. Have people provide practical assistance. People want to help you if you allow them to. And one of the things caregivers feel like they are failing if they ask for help. Well, this nobody was made to provide care alone.
Yes.
It's just
Right.
not possible. Even babies, we have babysitters come in. We have things where when they're little, that needs to pertain to us
Right.
now. So
Yeah.
practical assistance is, hey, let somebody put the groceries away. Let somebody come bring a meal or two. Let
Yeah.
somebody sit with your loved one so that
Yes.
you can go out. Maybe they're going to play a game or whatever. But there's got to be things that they can do to
Yeah.
allow you to have the liberty in your mind that, okay, I can go out and go to the gym. I can take time to go see the doctor,
Yes.
whatever it is.
Yes. Yes. And I see it as I agree with you 1,000%. And so the way that I was able to, I think, manage my mindset over that, because what you said is perfect, is that if I will see it as a delegation rather than asking for help, if I'm asking for help, I'm visualizing myself as failing at what I'm doing, not able to
Yep.
keep up and all. But instead, I see it differently. So this means it's all perspective in our heads. It's
Yeah.
all us.
Yeah.
And so what I see it as now more of delegation. So I'm taking control. Instead of
Yep.
failing and being a victim, I'm standing up and I'm taking control. So I'm delegating. I'm not asking for help. I'm
Yeah.
delegating. And that way, somebody else can do this job. I can pay somebody else. And if I can't afford it, then that's what kids are for, right? You have them so that you can delegate.
Yeah.
And I'm just kidding, but
I know.
the way, or my office staff or whatever, I can tell people very nicely and make them feel better about themselves that they're accomplishing something and they are helping and being a part of a team. And, we as caregivers need to see ourselves as leaders. We are in
Yeah.
this position to perform great services that are above and beyond so many of the service industries, because what we do helps people at its base. And so we have to see ourselves as leaders, even if we're a CNA, even if we're just a child taking care of a mom or whatnot. We are a leader in the family. We're a leader in our in our office. We're a leader wherever we are, and we are delegating and making others not. And I think when we don't ask people to do things, we enable. So sometimes
Yeah.
family members don't respond to you and don't want to help because guess what? This is set up by you in a way because you've allowed them and enabled them
Yes.
to have that pattern. So whenever you take on this new, and this is what happened to me in my weight loss cycle, because not only was I losing weight, but I was changing my entire life. I wound up getting divorced. I had to, my entire world changed, but the resistance came from me no longer being somebody you could walk over and I'm just going to give you everything I am to somebody with boundaries and a lead, more of leading characteristics and whatnot. And I was taking control. And I tell you, when you start doing that, people are not going to like it. They're going to make you feel,
Exactly.
they're going to make you feel terrible about it. But what you learn is that you don't need this type of person in your life. You need
Exactly.
more structure of people who support you and see the value in you. And it's hard to think that you're letting somebody down, but you're not. They're letting you down. And taking that role is responsible and it's the right thing to do. And sometimes you just have to say goodbye to that mentality and goodbye to the people who aren't going to support that and allow this new person to wake up and walk into that role because it's wonderful.
You know what? It really is, but so many caregivers they're beaten down by extended family members or judgmental siblings that they're not doing the right thing, doing enough to take care of their loved one, and only they can do it because everybody else in the family is much more important and much more busy than the primary caregiver. And the messages they're giving are demeaning, demoralizing, and just downright awful. And it's meant to be beaten the caregiver down, and so many of them, when they're done with their journey, are financially broke, absolutely, their bodies. One of the things that I've learned is the negative consequences of long-term chronic stress can be felt as long as 6 years after the caregiving journey ends.
Okay. Wow. That is fantastic what you just said. Now, if I look back, you just opened my eyes to something. I hope this is appropriate. But as I look back, this has been a 10-year journey. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I didn't just drop weight in 2 years.
Yeah.
This has been a 10-year journey of taking control of my life and turning people. I started this when I was 47, this
Uh-huh.
journey, and I'm going to be 57 next month.
Yeah.
And it has taken all this time for all this to change. What has been so beautiful, I'm closer to my children than I've ever been. I found a wonderful, beautiful, soulmate and married my best friend. And I have my whole entire life has changed. And ultimately, I can tell you so many great things like that. But ultimately, I love what I do so much more than I did, and I'm
Uh-huh.
contributing more to my family. I'm contributing more to society and my patients and everybody else, having given to myself more. I'm watching a very good friend of mine go through this family struggle, and I wonder what the stat is because I do see that when it comes to families having a sick parent or spouse or whatnot, it always falls on one person. They could have a
That's
family
very true.
they could have
Yeah.
a family, the largest family you've ever seen or known, it always falls on one person.
Yeah.
And this has happened to her. And so she's learning this on her late 40s now, kind of what I went through. And I'm watching her walk that path, trying to guide her, but you just have to walk through the fire.
Yeah.
And I'm watching that, but it all fell on her. And I'm just like, where can we begin to affect people where they can understand what needs to change and how to do it and how to progress through that and ultimately come out on the other side winning like I have. And I don't know what it is ultimately to share with everybody to do it. But what I can say is that you're worth it. And it's important for you to understand that you're worth it
Yeah.
and walk the fire because when you come out on the other side, it's such a beautiful thing. You're a better person.
Yeah. Well, so many family caregivers, I will tell you right now, Dr. Marianne, they actually feel shame or guilt
Yes.
about putting their own health and their own emotional well-being, even their financial well-being first.
Yeah,
And that is an ongoing problem that we have got. That's why I say get a family caregiver contract in place because you can set
absolutely.
boundaries. And actually, I have it set up so you should be able to pay for your caregiving,
Yes,
for your work, and everybody's going, "Oh, no," but there are avenues you could take and look into, and it's
absolutely.
absolutely because right now, with the reimbursement rates changing so much in Medicare and they move to a cost-sharing plan, we are more financially responsible for paying for any recommended treatment
Yeah,
or procedure,
yeah,
and the family caregiver now is the single largest pillar of the long-term care industry.
yeah,
They are unpaid and
yeah.
untrained and providing services once provided by healthcare professionals.
Absolutely, and I have referred people in, and it's been a little while since I've done this directly, but I have been able to get the family members covered by either Medicare or Medicaid or both for
Oh,
being a provider in the home. There are reimbursements out there in the VA system too, and it's do they
yeah.
advertise that? Absolutely not. Do most physicians' offices even know anything about
No,
it? No,
no, no.
but it
That's
is out
that's
there.
where people like me come in, we can help them, but
Right.
it's Medicare Advantage may pay for care in the home, traditional Medicare does not. They're even cutting you're not gonna believe this. They have cut the home care benefits so bad that they don't pay for a nurse in the home.
Unbelievable.
And that is the last frontier because here, because 'cause I'm seeing more unsafe discharges to home than ever
Yes,
before,
sure.
and one of the things is a nurse should be opening those cases that come home because they can identify what is needed, what education was missed, what they and train and help the family caregiver. They have totally taken that away, and a T usually opens the cases now,
Mhm.
and if a nurse comes, they're supposed to come within the first 72 hours, and they're not sending them out because they're
Sure.
not reimbursed.
Isn't it insane?
And it's just it's really sad, so we really have a broken system. That's
Oh,
why I think it's really important that if people want to be healthy and well, that the functional medicine docs are the best way to go because you're gonna have better health for a longer period of time because you're
absolutely.
actually addressing the root causes of
Yeah.
what's going on with your body. Marianne, if there's one message you want every caregiver listening today to remember about their health, what would it be?
My goodness, gosh, I have a list as long as my leg, I think, in that regard. But I guess I would just fall back to I would fall back to accountability.
Yeah.
And that is just understand your own personal role in what your life has built, what you've built in your life around you. And it is those boundaries. And that is that self-respect and that self-esteem that's underneath and all. And just realize the importance of what you do and what you provide. Even with the horrible system around us, we still have a lot of power to improve things around us. We have the ability to
Yes.
vote. We have the ability to post something that isn't right on Facebook and make a statement about it. But, ultimately, you are in a place when there's a patient in front of you or someone you love in front of you to be able to have a voice and take some control and keep your eyes open and ears open and look for the solutions and be a part of that solution. And so ultimately, you just know when you go to bed at night and you close your eyes that you've done the right thing for
Yeah.
yourself, not just for someone else,
Yeah.
but for yourself, and just stay accountable to that. I think that is at the basis of it all, and that would be my message. You're important, and your job is important no matter what it is that you're doing in any shape, caregiving situations, not physician all the way down to the guy who sweeps the floor or answers the phone, whatever.
100%.
It
Yes.
doesn't matter. You are providing a service, and somebody on the other end of that service depends on you. So just stay accountable to that and keep putting your best foot forward, but take care of yourself in the meantime. So
Dr.
little bit.
Marianne, it's been such a pleasure having you on, provide so much important information. How do my listeners find you?
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity and all, and you're just a beautiful light in all of this. Thank you for doing
Thank
what
you.
you do. And so I have a podcast, and I would love for people to look into it. If you reach out on the contact form at my website, DRP betterlife.com, drpbetterlife.com. I answer all of those emails and everything. So it's all me. I just learned that I have 1.2 million download for the lifetime of the podcast.
Oh, wonderful.
Is
That's
that
a
not
huge that's huge.
that's huge, and I have 40,000 now, just hit 40,000 followers, subscribers on YouTube, so please listen in. Just go to drpbetterlife.com, and you'll have your choice of iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. I'm on Pandora, I'm on all sorts of places, so just whatever you listen to, but there's links there and more information, so please reach out.
And all this information will be placed on a permanent page on Caregiver Relief as well, so
Thank you.
people in the future will be able to press a link and find you as well.
Thank you, that's wonderful, I appreciate that very
Thank
much.
you. To my family caregivers out there, you are the most important part of the caregiving equation. Without you, it all falls apart. So please learn to be gentle with yourself. Practice self care every day. Lose the guilt and shame because you are worth it.